Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. Are we live yet? My name is Adewale, and today I can see all of you in chat. It's exciting to see everybody here today. I have a couple of amazing people from the projects team, from the CodeSandbox team with me today. And without any further ado, I would like you to meet all of them. Hello. Today I have Lena, I have Nicolene, I have Alex, and I have Sana. All here with us to talk about, CodeSandbox projects, talk about the amazing features we built to improve productivity, talk about some of the things that we are looking forward to when it comes to web development in general, especially in our browsers, and also answer some of the questions all of you might have when it comes to CodeSandbox, learning how to code, getting better at coding, and just improving your productivity in general. To get started, once again, I'm Adewale, or ASKID, as my handle shows in the screen. And I am developer advocate at CodeSandbox. I'll start with Lena, because you're like the closest person to me. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you, Ace. Hi, everyone. I'm Lena. I'm a designer. I work as a product designer at CodeSandbox. I've been with the team since November last year. So I was able to contribute a lot with the new project release and a few other things that we're cooking up. And it's been quite an intenseful ride, but also very interesting. And I've learned quite a lot as well. So I'm just happy to be here today and share that all with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Lena. Nicolene, you want to go?
Hi, I'm Nico. I'm a product manager. I've worked a lot with Lena on all of the projects she's been on. I've worked a bit on the iOS app when we released that, as well as some features I'll probably mention because I've come to love them quite a bit. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you. Alex?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Alex. I work as a front-end engineer at CodeSandbox. Been part of the original team that started projects, I think back in April last year, if I remember this correctly. So I'm really happy to see the project in the state there is today, and yeah, looking forward to chatting with everyone.
Awesome. Sana?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sana. I am a backend engineer, mostly responsible for our Elixir API server. And I've been with CodeSandbox for about 2 years, so quite a while in startup land.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. I would also like to, just get to know a couple of people in chat. I can see, people from India. Thank you for joining, Sagar. I think I'm pronouncing that well. I can see someone else from Mexico, Alberto. Thank you for stopping by, and of course, every other person in chat. We are definitely looking forward to some of your questions today, and yeah, let's get started. So, I joined CodeSandbox about 10 months ago, and project has definitely been in the works. Everyone building and stuff. So I'm curious to find out about what the backstory is. What are we trying to solve with projects, and how much progress have we made in changing how web development can be done today in the browser? Does anybody want to go?
Yeah, I can say a little bit about that. I think one of the big things that we wanted is we wanted people to be able to go beyond prototyping, because I think that's what CodeSandbox has been the most well known for in the past. Like, just quickly make a sandbox, quickly make an example. But some open source project that started on CodeSandbox had to move away because they outgrew us. And we kind of wanted to buy and build an experience that allowed people to go beyond a prototype and actually do full development. And I think that was the core idea behind project, and to do that in a collaborative way.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I can add to that, like, it's almost like the team had this itch, because a lot of people, and even I remember before joining CodeSandbox, a lot of people I knew that were using CodeSandbox, they had their local environments all the time, and then whenever they needed something, they just switch to CodeSandbox, and then they go back to the local development. And then I think it's kind of like this itch that the team had, like, what if we can support all the use cases, all the workflows that people need to move their development basically from whatever local environments they have to CodeSandbox.
Awesome. I mean, I've gotten to integrate that into my own workflow on a daily basis. I use projects like almost every day, and I can only assume the same for most of us on this call as well. Is there any particular thing that stood out for you while building projects, and also now that you probably use it as often as you do?
I think for me, what really stands out is how easy it is to start actually working. I'm not the super technical person, being a designer. So every time I try to work with code, I do have some struggles and a few difficulties, but using projects just makes it so much easier because I don't have to worry about setting up the environment, and I just can easily share it with my colleagues and just collaborate and basically just start building. So I think in that sense is very successful, especially if you're not that familiar with code yet. Like, it just helps you get even more into the workflow.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can add to that. That's definitely true because I'm like an Elixir developer, and honestly, when it comes to like Webpack or any other, like, I don't know, I don't even know what all those JavaScript things are called. Like, I want to contribute, but I could never like get it running locally. It was always a pain and very frustrating. And now I can just go in and fix something myself instead of having to ask somebody else who already has everything running, and that's been a big plus for me, I must say, that I don't need to worry about, I don't know, Yarn or NPM or which one do I choose or whatever. It just happens. It's great.
There's this part of working on a branch that already has stuff up and running for you that is just so nice. Like, I actually, can I share my screen and show you like an example? Definitely. So I can have multiple previews up, for example, and it's not showing. So I'll just explain it to you. But if I have multiple screens up, I can share a branch with my code, and then a preview, let's say for like Storybook, as well as like me using a component from Storybook. And I love that because like, not only do I get to jump straight into the code without having to like pull down a branch and spin it up, but if I have like my tests running, for example, or if I have like, you know, my component that I'm like playing around with new components on, I can then just send it over, and you don't have to like think about how somebody got to a specific point. I don't have to even think about even opening files. Because all of the right files are open for me, and just like taking away the work that goes into understanding the context of somebody who you're working with because they just hand it to you on a silver platter. I do this a lot with like Lena and Marco, where they'll be working on something in the code and just be like, do you like this or do you like that? And we're just basically on the same, well, we are on the same machine, but it feels like we're just like, you know, two keyboards on the same computer. And it's like it's just so quick. And there's like such little explanation required.
Awesome. I mean, that has definitely changed the experience for me too as well. Coming from building locally, I'm always on my locals trying to ship stuff. And thanks to projects, all I do now, like I think Sandy mentioned earlier, moving from just sandboxes and prototyping to actually building full scale applications for me. A lot of the people, I don't know if you're aware in chat, everyone literally has access to projects now. It's now in open beta. So if you want to try it out, especially as we are speaking or talking about stuff, you can go to projects, the CodeSandbox.io, and you can just start importing your project from there. Talking about that, while people are probably getting acclimated, are there any particular features that we built or designed that stand out for each of us so far? It's either from the functionality aspect or just from the design point of view to help improve our workflows. You want to go, Lena?
Sure. There are a lot of new things that we're cooking up right now, but one thing that's already live in production is our Kanban board, how we call it, is basically on the dashboard. You get when you go into your actual repository, you get just a full view of all your branches, and you you're starting to get a sense of your workflow with the organization of the branches. You can see your PRs, you can see what's in production, and you can actually see what are the drafts that everyone's working on. And just being able to see who is actually live coding in that branch is just really helpful, because you just can sort of like follow around your colleagues and see what they're working on. And when you actually click on it, you can literally follow them. So there's follow mode also in the editor, which is really incredibly helpful. So you're able to just go through the code with your colleague and they're showing it to you. And it's just very easy to do with projects.
Awesome. I think, Nico, do you want to go? You're muted.
I was just testing out my share screen, but I wanted to illustrate the Kanban board just in the background as Lena was talking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got my drafts. If there was any PRs open, then I would be in here, and then my default branch in here as well.
Awesome. I think for me, it's been the fact that I'm able to work with my GitHub repositories. For example, I have my own personal website ever since my laptop crashed, where I literally just imported from GitHub, and all I'm doing is working on my personal website and being able to make PLs, make changes on the go, sometimes from my iPad. I recently just added like new talks I had recently to my website without, like I was on the road just coding from my iPad, and this kind of flexibility has just giving me that opportunity to do that, right? Because for me, my website runs on Gridsum, which is built on Vue. It's a Jamstack framework for Vue. And it was all set up in like seconds for me to be able to import from GitHub and be able to share it with like literally everybody. I have like different URLs for different branches. And personally, that's like the feature that stands out for me. So yeah, I just added all of this a few days ago.
I'll also add to that there are all these small things that are very hard to, in a way, market or sell as, oh, this is a killer feature or anything. But there are all these small things that you can build around because it's like the whole concept of having like a shared environment or like just always running environment enables you all these automated things to be built on top. Like, for example, just from the top of my mind, I guess one of the big frustrations with working locally is that you're always out of sync with the remote branch, right? If you need to always check out a new branch, you're checking out main, but you're checking out your local version of main. You have to pull latest and so on. And all these things we can automate with projects. So at first, when shifting from local environment to this, it felt like, wait, I'm not used to this. Like every developer kind of is very passionate about their way of working, about their tools, their whatever teams or whatever. And it just felt at first that it's different. So you get this kind of resistance, but then as you start using projects, it just felt to me like after 2 or 3 months, I looked back and I said, whoa, I'm so dependent on these things that are automated with projects, which I didn't have before with local environments. And I didn't realize that I was kind of using them. They were just small things that were there, were just helping out here and there. This is super, super valuable, and it can improve a lot the developer experience, in my opinion.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that also really helped us is that I say we, but for only recently I've been able to use projects for my Elixir code base as well, which I'm excited about. But everybody who was working in the JavaScript code bases, we used CodeSandbox to build CodeSandbox. So all those like nice little things or little things that like everybody got annoyed about got fixed really early because we were using our own stuff.
Awesome. I can see people from chat checking out the project at the moment. That's pretty cool. I think the next thing for me, I don't know if anyone else wants to add about one of their favorite features, but just to jump in real quick, has also been the integration with open source. The same way I just shared the link in chat is the same way we can literally import any project from GitHub, and you can basically run the example, run the dev tools, see the preview, and actually create a PL to start working on it directly. And if nothing else, that has absolutely improved my own open source contribution flow. Even when I'm working on my personal, this is a master branch. Let me zoom out. But when I want to like create something new, I literally just fork the repository, the branch, and I'm working on a brand new branch, and I can make new changes for me, and that's like amazing for me. So I don't know if anyone has any interest in stuff like that too as well.
Yeah, that definitely. Oh, sorry, Nico. That definitely helps me out a lot. Like when I'm working with the other designers and even the other developers, and they show a preview or something they're working on, and I just want to contribute to that, but I don't want to interfere with their code. I'm just trying to like play around with some ideas or try a few things. I just create a new branch quickly with just a click of a button, and then I start like iterating on what I want to try out, and I'm able to share the preview with them, which is also really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's also important to point out that every branch literally has its own preview URL. So I can copy this, which is a new branch, as you see, and share with like literally everybody in chat, and you have a new preview URL. When I started learning how to code, I used to be like, oh, this is not built, works on my local machine, but it's not working with the client if I was freelancing, or it's just not working elsewhere. I think these kinds of just eliminates all of that. They can't be anymore. It's not working on my machine because you're literally just sharing, sharing a preview online to the person. So yeah, I think what we should do now, just to get started and also include the people in chat, I can go through some of the questions that we have and see if we can, answer some of them. A few more asked a while ago if there is 1 second. That is particularly interested in how CodeSandbox is going to impact the speed of learning to code. Does anyone have any thoughts about this?
I think one thing that this will be really helpful for is that it hopefully will be much easier to ask for help instead of like having to copy paste like your code and go like, oh, I have this is my file, etc. You could just share a link and somebody can help you out, can look at your code and maybe point you in the right direction. It's not necessarily the learning itself, but I think it will be much easier to collaborate and to get help when you're stuck on something, which is, I guess, a big part of learning.
Definitely.
And you can see how the person who helps you debugs your issue as opposed to them just telling you the solution, which is, less helpful for learning.
Yeah, that's Absolutely. What I was going to say too. The follow mode, there's this there's this part of learning to code where you are like reading PRs, or you're just trying to like peer over someone's shoulder, be like, this is a problem I'd love to be able to solve on my own. Here's somebody who I know is going to solve it in a way that like I'd like to learn from. And so rather than asking them to set aside some time where they're like, walk you through how they would do it, which is also very helpful and probably still something to do. You could ask them to just let you know when they're doing like an interesting or like maybe a very just like a kind of problem you'd like to learn how to solve, and then you just hop on the branch and you watch them do it, and they can tell you what they're doing. But it's just so the barrier to sharing your work and sharing your process is so much lower because you don't have to be sharing screens, and you don't have to be pushing things between local environments and trying to like demonstrate how it works. You can just kind of like be a fly on the wall, which I know is something that like always helped me, just seeing somebody solve a problem and be like, oh, these are the steps that they take. Got it.
Awesome. I think for me, from my own point of view, is also through the open source approach. A lot of code happens on GitHub where other people have written something that you probably want to like implement. I remember a few months ago, I was trying to build an application that would help me track my coins that I had on Binance. So I was like trying to build a Binance coin tracker, and I wanted to do some stuff with the, with the USDT, with the tickers, and be able to get the code, the currency value for them. And all I had to do was just search on GitHub, like which other project is doing this kind of similar thing. But following my approach, there was no way for me to see how they were executing the code because I couldn't see the preview. But if I had projects at that point in time, I just had to import the project, 2 projects. I like saying that. And I have it running, and I can actually see the preview about all the things they've done. So with this kind of updates, we are able to also impact the speed of learning because you can literally run other people's projects and see what they built basically in real time without having to customize your own development environment for them. And I think that's like one amazing part of it for me too.
I will also point out, I want to show, actually, can I share my screen here?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Let's see. Yeah. I noticed in the
Awesome.
chat people are talking about how dogfooding can lead to this awkward thing. And I wanted just to share how the experience is for building projects in projects, because this is, I'm on a branch here in production on the repository, and I'm running it in here. So I basically get the preview, which is the same as what I'm looking at, which can be confusing at times. I grant you
Yeah,
that. But I wanted
definitely.
to point to the idea of learning that, for example, once you have this integrated experience of running the code, running your big, like a more complex project and previewing it next to it. For example, um, we have this inspector tool, which is I
Can you
guess
zoom in a
quite,
bit, Alex?
yeah, it's quite hidden. I'm not sure if we are really using it that much. I think we could benefit a lot more from it, and I think learning can benefit from it, because you can just click on a button and then you can look at the preview and inspect, see, okay, which component deals with, I don't know, rendering this file here. Oh, and I see it's this file. So I all of a sudden, like onboarding on a big code base or just getting to understand a more complex project with UI can be a lot more easier, because I can visually map, like it's almost like reverse. Instead of reading the code and trying to figure out which are the components that render here and there, I can look at the preview. I know that I'm interested in seeing, how is the, I don't know, the drag and drop, for example, implemented for the file path or whatever. And oh, I just accidentally click there, and I get to the editor where I can see the code implementation. So again, this is from the same series of little things that not it's not like they're mandatory for you to work, but once you have them, you get used to them. They become part of your way of working, and it's hard to not have them at some point.
Amazing, Alex. Thank you. I actually have someone in the chat asking about our GitHub integration. And I was wondering if anyone wants to actually just demo like a flow for us to import a new GitHub project and just show them that this is possible. If the feature isn't in beta, it's publicly available. I mean, like importing from from GitHub. I mean, so if there's something that we can show off, that'd be great.
Sure. I recently did a video for this, so I'll go ahead and take that on. All right. So I'm over here in my personal projects, and I'm going to, you can see all these projects I've been using for videos. But if I come over here, this is all of my the templates. It's a small but growing list. We're taking inspiration from our old template list as we build this out. But I'm going to just do a Gatsby, and I'm going to do a live demo. Rename this. I'll call it Gatsby Live Demo. And when I create a project, or when you import a project for the first time, it'll take you through a setup flow on your Sidekick, which is what we call like that side panel on the side. So that's where like your previews are, or your terminal, for example. And so it'll do a few things on its own. Like first, it'll look for a package JSON where it'll pull all of the scripts for the tasks up here. If you have like a mono repo, or if your task JSON isn't at the root, the first step that will show up after I've done the setup, which I'm going to go ahead and skip it. They'll ask you where, like how to get started with your dev tools here. And then after that, it'll take you to, I don't need that because I've got this in my root directory, but it'll ask me if I want to install this GitHub app. And so you do have a GitHub integration that's like our OAuth, and this is separate. So the OAuth GitHub integration just allows us to pull all of the different repositories that you have on your account so you can import it. This will actually create a better line of, okay. Let me just put in my authentication code 1 second. Here we go.
Do you want me to hide that for you?
It's just a set of numbers that'll go away in a second. But here, down here, I can choose all my repositories or select repositories. So I've got a Gatsby live demo that I'm going to approve this for. And this will just allow us to share information between CodeSandbox and the repository. And so this means that we can have better information that we just depict on your Kanban board, pulling from your PRs. But it also means that I can do something like if I come in to my README and just like, I'm going to make a quick change just to like be able to do a commit here. And I'll come over here and do a little update. And what we will do here, just to illustrate what you get, there's a set of features, and this set of features is going to build out a bit more. Like I mentioned, it'll help us collect or it'll help us read data from the PR to put into your Kanban board, but it'll also let us send information to GitHub. So if I have a new PR, I can actually add some, what we'll do on the back end is we will add these links for you. And so this is really nice. It's one of my favorite features because it means that like, if let's say you're really into CodeSandbox and you're like, you love developing in it, you're really into the editor, you don't have to be, you can work on VS Code if you prefer, but let's say you're converted, but you're not really sure about like, the team's still trying to figure out how they want to use it. They don't have to be, they don't have to completely adopt it in order to still have some benefit from it. So someone on my team can come in and see my little update, and they can open up, if they're added to my team on CodeSandbox, they can just open up the branch and see the changes here. And so this helps with reviews. This will also, if I'm over here in, let's say I open up a GitHub app, my GitHub app in my iOS, and I open up this link, it'll actually open this up in my CodeSandbox iOS app if you have that installed. And I really like reviewing PRs in my iPad. The ergonomics of it just like are a thing that I didn't know that I was missing in my life, but just to be able to like sit on a train or on my couch and just kind of scroll through the changes and really like read code when I'm not at my desk is something that like I really enjoy. There's also this other example I have here. I just added some previews. This is a public repository or documentation. So if I add previews to this, and I have a video describing how to do that, I'll show you what that looks like. What I can do is I can add this link that will just open up the preview to the changes. So maybe I have a designer who doesn't really like want to mess around with code. They just want to see how I've implemented the changes and see if it looks right, do like a design review. They can just open up the preview, and I haven't opened this up in a while, so it's going to spin everything up. But if I had just been working on it, it would already be up and running and be like really quick. So that is how, these are some of the options you have with the GitHub app. We'll be implementing settings so you can kind of customize this in a way that works for you. And you can like play around with it and kind of bring your team on board as it works for you and your team.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great, Nico. Thank you for sharing that to us. We have a very interesting question next. Bashar is asking what's new and coming in CodeSandbox. Any thoughts?
Ooh, so much. Well, we're excited with quite a few things. We really want to tackle the review process, as Nico was pointing out. Like, we really see the value in incorporating projects and CodeSandbox into that because of how easy it makes the reviewing. You can do it just straight from the preview. You can have like the diff views with the code and all that. And it just facilitates the process so much. So we really want to dive deep into that process and just build some even more amazing features to make it even easier and smoother. We also have some ideas about working strictly with the previews. Like, what if you could be able to interact with it and just be able to change things on the spot, like are some of the things that we're investigating. But there's just stay tuned for big changes, I guess, coming ahead.
Awesome. Thank you, Nico. Lena, sorry. I saw the next question and I wanted to also excited to answer it. So next question is not necessarily a question, but asking us to target the iPad space. Like a lot of people use iPad to code. And I just wanted to point out that we do have CodeSandbox for iOS. And I was just so eager to show it right on my screen. This is literally my CodeSandbox app on my iPad and even on the iPhone that literally allows me to be able to code and build stuff on the go. So yeah, if you've not tried it out yet, I think we can share the link in chat. But if you've not tried it out, you should definitely check CodeSandbox for iOS. It's definitely available on the iPad as well. And I've been using a lot with Stage Manager. I've been able to preview browsers, so even watch a YouTube tutorial while I'm coding on projects on the iOS app rather. So yeah, definitely check that out. So let's see. Are there any more questions? No. So I think the next thing I would actually like to discuss personally is a follow-up question. Android soon? Any thoughts?
Well,
probably not soon.
Yeah, I will say we have a really good mobile experience.
Yeah.
And so that's something worth noting. But just like a little backstory, we acquired Play.js last year with our amazing iOS developer, Carlos. So we actually have a native IDE that we're using as part of the iOS CodeSandbox experience. And so that was like a real addition for us to be able to bring that native ability or native experience into the CodeSandbox flow. And so that's just like a little bit of context around like that, why iOS and why it's so special, and why the experience is so fluid and nice. In terms of Android in the future, that's a conversation we're having. But I think for now, I would tell you that I've worked on the like if you do the web editor in a phone, it's actually really quite comfortable because it's something that we've thought a lot about.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Nico. One last thing I would like to actually cover personally is the questions that are risen up from our GitHub integrations and other things that you can do with projects, for example. For me, especially with my experience that I've been able to work with this team and seeing all the things that have been built, is one of my most exciting parts, right? Being able to go to GitHub, for example, and be able to start off like with any open source project and have this project running in as quickly as possible. So just to show everyone in the audience how you can actually start making the most of projects, especially with your GitHub account, or if you make open source contributions or want to get into open source, this is like an easy way for us to get into this. So I'm doing a very quick demo, probably 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just to show you guys what's possible. And this right here is, excuse me, this right here is a GitHub repository on the CodeSandbox account, obviously. And it's a template for Nox. So it's going to be running in Nox, and I can open it directly with CodeSandbox using this URL. But imagine you've just finding a random project on GitHub on the internet and it doesn't have this button, for example. Something simple that you can do is just change this to, I can either copy this entire link, actually, and head over to CodeSandbox and start a new project here. I just paste the link, right? So I can paste this link and it's going to import the project for me. And once that is done, it starts importing the project. But in the meantime, I can also just change the URL here to codesandbox.io/p/github. And I would also be able to run I don't know if it's a good idea to run it twice at the same time. So I'm just going to close one just to be safe. But yeah, I literally just imported an open source project that belongs to another account, 2 projects, and I can start making edits. I can send, I already have a branch created for me. I have a different branch from the main branch because you cannot edit directly on the main branch just to protect your code, obviously. But on my branch, I can make edits. Just delete this. Should still work, right? And I can do all of this on my own branch and sending a commit, sending a PR at the end of the day. And that entire flow just kind of puts open source right there and center for us to be able to continue to support this flow, support this workflow, and make sure that everyone can build stuff for it. So yeah, I just wanted to show that as quickly as possible without taking too much of our time. Another question here. How often do you find users moving between multiple projects in a session versus staying in one project? Any ideas?
I don't know if any of us has the access to the analytics data to know that, actually. I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea myself.
I'm really curious now.
I will say that for the most part, teams will import 1 or 2 projects and they'll work on it together. So on the whole, I think people tend to be building together on a single project. But in terms of like actual numbers, I'd have to jump into our analytics and pull that out.
Even internally, our team has been like quite clearly split on different projects. So like we kind of work on a single code base, although we do have some instances where we do work on like switch from one project to another. And I'm talking strictly about coding because code review is like a different thing. Like you could help, with other teams that are working on other repositories. You can easily just jump from one branch/PR to another, and that's where we hope the dashboard can really help get kind of, I guess what we're trying to do is build the dashboard in a way that it's helping you figure out what you have to do next, whether it's someone from the team that requires needs some code review, whether it's someone that wants to do some pairing, or whether it's your PRs that need addressing something. So we're still trying to figure out what to prioritize, because every tool has a dashboard, and if you're not careful with it, of course, like you just end up with a ton of information there that doesn't make sense. But I'm really excited about all the feedback that we're getting so far, and just hoping to continue down this line with optimizing all the flows for people.
Amazing. I think we're getting close to the end of this, just so we wrap it up and give everybody their time back. But one question that particularly sits in my mind, and I would literally like to hear the opinion from every single person here, is more in the sense of looking at the future of web development, especially in the browser. Are there any thoughts of things that we would like to see possible in the near future or in the far future, if possible? Just any thoughts basically on predictions or things you're working towards, like, okay, this will be possible very soon for us to do in the browser and in this environment. So yeah, anyone can go first.
What I'm really excited about is that it's for this to no longer be limited to JavaScript, because the previous CodeSandbox and many other similar companies are focused on web development, which means JavaScript and often like a Node.js backend. And I'm excited that I, as an Elixir developer, now also get to use CodeSandbox, and I hope that I can use that for other languages as well. Even more, awesome. Like more first-class support for other languages is what I hope for. Because right now it's possible, but the Elixir experience isn't great yet. But right. We'll get there. We'll get there for the first time for everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
And that also adds to the question that I think Scott asked in the chat, if PHP and stuff like that is possible. And so other languages are possible, but you'll have to look into Nix and add a Nix file that kind of tells you what we need to set up. I don't know exactly how this works, but there's always people in the Discord who can help you like figure out how to set up like a Nix file for your project and how to get that running.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Well, one thing that gets me really excited about the future is thinking about how we can make code and web development even more accessible for everyone, and not just like really technical savvy people. Like, we want to be able to incorporate an entire product development team and bring them to CodeSandbox projects. We want to have the designers looking into code and the PMs and the content people and everyone just looking at the same environment, and it's a live environment running. It's not just like a static file in a software somewhere that might get outdated really fast. So that's something that gets me really excited, because there's so much possibility there, like what sort of features we can build to integrate more people that are not just from this technical background into the project, and make the whole process of developing easier, like from concept to actual production. Just looking at it from a holistic view, and it's just really exciting.
Amazing. Thank you, Lena.
I would also add on that the collaborative aspect of the environment. I really feel like, in general, like developing a product, whether it's from product design, like idea, product design, engineering to deployment, there has been so much innovation here, but the act of actual engineering hasn't really changed a lot. You still write code in a text file with some fancy autocomplete functionality, and then when we think we're ready, we're just sending those diffs to someone, and then someone manually goes over them and then adds some comments in async fashion, and then you go back in async function and respond to that. There's so much more that you can do in terms of collaborating and pairing and pretty much code jamming on all these activities that you can do without having to go through excruciating setups to connect to some remote endpoint and authenticate every time and things like that. So yeah, I'm super excited about innovation in the area of just collaborating on the code, making the code is still the source of truth for the project, but now it's kind of like available for everyone to chip in. And if you think about it, it's a weird situation where things like Git are a bit outdated for this, because right now you make some changes and you have to make a commit, which is like a batch of changes, and that commit is signed by a single user. But with projects, you can have 3 people collaborate on the changes. So we don't even have this concept of a collaborative commit right now, because we're kind of dependent on the underlying Git abstraction. So that there's so much room for improvement here.
Yeah, absolutely. Nico?
Yeah, I definitely echo Lena and Alex here. I think it's one of my favorite things to discuss with the team, because as we build out this like foundational product of like having our code in the web or in iOS in a collaborative environment, we really break the paradigm around isolated developer experiences. And that's just like a little seed of like all the different ideas that we have for helping, bringing the human aspect of development into the editor or the tools that we use, and making it easy to share the context of like the problem you're trying to solve or the issue that you're stuck in. And so that's like a super big answer, because we have probably like mountains of ideas in terms of features, but what's exciting is we've got the bedrock to build all of that. And so I look forward to being able to manipulate our commits to like feel a lot more human, readable, and being able to like message people about ideas that's like embedded into the code. But those are no promises. Those are just exciting things that we love to talk about and are definitely thinking about moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was quite insightful. Thank you so much, everyone, for stopping by and joining us on this stream. We've been, pretty excited to answer your questions. We hope you've, gotten a lot of answers for them as well. Thank you, Alex, Sane, Lena, Nicolene, for stopping by and sharing all of your infinite wisdom with us on this stream. We've gotten to the end of this, and once again, I'd like to just thank everybody for stopping by. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all.
Bye.
Everyone.
Thanks.